Here we are in April of 2022. You just opened up the Budwood on your website request. So far, what's been your most popular request?
Most popular requests have been sugarloaf. We've had a lot of requests for orange sherbet, sassy love. We've received quite a few requests for pickering. That's been very popular. I got a lot of requests for pineapple pleasure.
Hello everybody, here I am at Tropical Acres Farms, and I love this place, just surrounded by so many fruit trees. They don't only have mangoes here, they also have avocados and sapodillas and mameys. I love mameys, but mangoes is the main thing they have here. They have over 300 varieties of mangoes, and today I'm going to be interviewing Alex about his Budwood, because like me, I like adding new different varieties to my trees, and he just made them available on his website, the Budwood, where if you want a particular variety, you don't have to just buy a new tree. You can get the Budwood and graft it onto an old tree or part of a tree if you want. So he's going to explain today his process of how to collect it. He collects the Budwood and how he set it up on his website. And, you know, you can get Budwood from a lot of places. A friend might have a tree, you might have another tree, or other people might be selling it or something. But Alex has been doing this for a long time. This is his specialty. He has more variety than anyone else around, and most likely more availability if you get to his website soon enough. So I'm going to put his links below the video, and he's going to talk about this now. And it's just wonderful information, and I've learned so much from his videos. And to get the Budwood, and I have another video, I'll put a card on here of how to graft it. I did with Alex as well. There's a lot of videos on the internet that talk about that, but go to his website now and see what's available for the Budwood. My suggestion is not just sticking to the common ones that everyone's getting, but get some of those newer varieties that Alex mentions, and he'll be mentioning in this video as well, that a lot of people don't know of yet, but they are going to be popular soon. So you can kind of get a head start on that. So when everyone's, you know, dealing with what's out now, you'll have some cool new variety, and you'll be ahead of the game with that's growing. I just got some of them as well that last year, some of the trees of these new varieties. So I did some videos with him where he talked about all these cool new varieties, and today we'll ask him about some of those too. So here's Alex at Tropical Acres Farms. Okay, here we are at Tropical Acres Farms with Alex, and he just opened up on his website that it's Budwood season. And so he's going to tell us today how he goes and collects it and what he does with this. And they don't only have amazing mango trees here, but they also have other tropical fruits, and they have Budwood for that as well. So hello, Alex. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Paul. So yes, it's Budwood season for mango. We just started selling mango Budwood a few days ago, actually. So it's an exciting time. A lot of people wait it with a lot of anticipation. So if you're not familiar, mangoes are grafted, and to graft a mango, you need to take material from a mature tree, a known variety, to fuse it onto a stock of some sort, whether it's a small seedling or another large tree. So a lot of people are interested in adding new varieties to their collections and their gardens, and so a service that we offer is that we sell that graft wood material. And of course, in our collection here, we have around over 300 different kinds of mangoes, along with sapodilla, mamey sapote, and avocados. So we sell Budwood from those species as well. Although avocado currently isn't available, it will be available in another month or so once the trees have stopped setting fruit and flowering. So you can get Budwood of all these different species from our farm. So we have a process by which people who want to buy Budwood can submit checklists, because Budwood is not always at the optimal stage when we go out in the field to collect it. So we want you know, the amateur grafters who are buying from us mostly to have the best chance possible for their grafts to take. So when we go out and we check for Budwood, we're looking for active buds on the stems of the species that we're harvesting from. So if we harvest dormant material or wood that's maybe too fresh with mango, the rate of take isn't as good. So to give that you know, optimal condition, we have to look at people's lists first to see what's ready, and then we send them an invoice for the ones that have good looking buds, and only those things. So when I receive Budwood checks, they're submitted through our website. We have a little function on our online store that you can select which varieties you want, and what kind of quantity of those varieties that you want. And then you submit that checklist. There is a $6 fee for us to check that budwood for you. And then what happens is whatever is ready from your list, we send you an invoice for, and that $6 you pay initially gets credited for one of those scions. So the scions are sold for $6 each currently, and so that fee gets applied onto your invoice as a credit. So obviously we have a lot of trees here. It takes a while to check these. We receive a lot of budwood checks every week, and because we have a lot of other activities and responsibilities on this farm, we really only have one day of the week devoted towards checking budwood, and so it can take me an entire day to check all these trees because we receive a lot of lists. I mean, dozens and dozens of lists every week, and many of these are quite long. And so we try to find budwood of any variety somebody submits to us, and so certain varieties we have quite a few trees of, like Edward and Duncan and Angie and Carrie and things like that. But then there's varieties that we might only have one tree on, and there might be only one opportunity during the course of the year to find good budwood on that. So it's quite a process. It takes quite a few hours of time to check everything. So when I come out here on a check day, I'm obviously looking at the tree and I'm trying to find budwood that's in the right optimal state. So I don't want dormancy. I want activity in the buds. I want to see them swelling up. So, and I'll show some examples of what I will usually pass on when I'm checking budwood. So this is a Maha.
Wait, let me come around here.
And so this mango here has, well, actually it has quite a bit of active budwood on it, fortunately. So if I was coming out to check this, which I've already done this week, I know that I'm going to find some good material on it. And if we look over here, so here we have some nice swelling buds on this stem here. They have not pushed out yet. So this is the type of scion material that we would harvest if somebody asked us for Maha Shinnok. Because there's a much better chance that this graft is going to push within a reasonable amount of time if it's done promptly. So, however, we'll look at this tree here. This is actually a sessilove. This mango just recently underwent a vegetative growth flush. Now this is very weak, fresh wood. This is not suitable for grafting. And so if I was checking this tree and most of the tree looks like this, then obviously I'm not going to find any good budwood on it. So I have to move on to another sessilove tree. Or if I can't find any sessilove budwood, then that gets X'd, and then when we send an invoice to you, it's not going to contain that variety if you have requested it, just because we know that you're not going to have good success trying to graft with this material. So that's why checking budwood is essential before we sell it to you, because we want to give you the best opportunity for your grafts to take. And grafting mango is not particularly easy. They're not on the easier end of the spectrum when it comes to species, fruit tree species, with grafting. So, some species like sapodilla and mamey are actually more difficult than mango to graft, or Spanish lime is extremely difficult, for instance. But then there's species that are considerably easier than mango, like avocado, citrus. Most stone fruits are easier to graft than mangoes. So, moderately difficult spectrum of grafting skill required to graft mango well. And so we do our best to give you the best budwood that we can. And so that's how our system works. We then, once you've paid the invoice, we send out the budwood via 2-day air express via FedEx. Usually arrives within 2 days. Sometimes it's faster than that. Rarely takes longer than that. But that way we get it to you rapidly enough that the material is still viable. We wrap all the budwood in moist material. We usually will use just moist paper towels and a sealed plastic bag so that the budwood does not dry out. Now when we clip the budwood, okay, we will remove the leaves from the stems, and that's to prevent desiccation. So that's to keep the scion from drying out before it gets to you. Now you can graft mango with some leaves on them, but most people are going to be doing it in a situation where they're going to wrap the whole scion. So we just clip the leaves off, unless told to do otherwise, of course. And most scions are going to be in a range of about 4 to 6 inches in length when we clip them. Occasionally, sometimes when we're trying to take a stem off, there will be a node or a branching point, and so we may not be able to clip as long as a scion as we would like to, but we do our best to try to keep it in that 4 to 6 inches of range when we're looking for budwood. So anyway, so that's our process, and we will continue to sell budwood. It's the first week of April. We're going to continue to sell budwood until we get too busy with the fruit season and it just becomes impossible to do it, and then we usually pause it for a period of weeks or even months. But normally when the fruit season starts to slow down a little bit, then we have a chance to sell budwood again towards the end of July, and the entire month of August we sell budwood. We stop selling mango budwood after the 31st of August, and that's a hard cutoff date. We do not sell mango budwood after that point in time. So you've got a limited period of time that you can get mango budwood from us, but we're definitely in that season now, and excited to be offering it.
If you got many requests of one particular variety that you don't have budwood, is there a waiting list?
So no, we don't have waiting lists. We let people submit checklists once per week because we check the budwood once a week, but it's too many trees. We have almost 1,000 trees under cultivation here. I collect almost all the budwood myself. I do have some help when I'm actually collecting it and labeling it and stuff and shipping, but it's just too much to keep track of. You know, what's going to be ready and that kind of thing, and so we don't keep a waiting list. What we do keep is an active list on our website of what we can take budwood from if it's ready. We have varieties in our collection, of course, that are not on the budwood list, and there's reasons for that. Like coconut cream, for example, has an active patent on it. We cannot distribute the budwood from that tree, because of that patent. There are other varieties that we consider having some proprietary restriction, where we got the variety from somebody and they, maybe didn't want us for a period of time to distribute the budwood. Currently I don't know that there's anything on that list that falls under that category, but there are trees that we consider too unhealthy to take budwood from, and that's an important consideration too. We don't want to take budwood from trees that are struggling, chlorotic, whatever. So I've taken stuff off of the list before because I just didn't like the way the tree was, or maybe I'm having a hard time finding good budwood on it. There are some varieties that give us a lot of trouble. One variety that I have a terrible time finding budwood on is Kiao Savoy, and I get a lot of requests for Kiao Savoy because there's a lot of folks that want that mango for eating green, but finding budwood on the tree is rare, or good budwood at least. So and then there are varieties that people ask us for, but we don't actually grow. That happens too. So, and for that reason, we put this system in place to kind of streamline things, because it's very overwhelming to receive all the emails and messages and so forth about budwood. And it used to be that we would have people send us their lists, and it's just we didn't have the time to go through everything. And now we've got this system that helps us out a little bit in terms of getting people's stuff checked.
For people who have the room, is it wiser for them to just buy a new tree of that variety, or is the budwood a better situation?
It depends. Budwood is certainly, if you are skilled at grafting, the cheaper option compared to buying a grafted mango tree, right? So, so if they feel confident in their ability to graft something themselves, whether to a rootstock or to a stump they already have, that's certainly the more economical way to go. And there's something rewarding, I think, about making your own grafts. But some people are not as good at grafting, and so a lot of those, that's common. I mean, it's not that easy to do for a lot of people, so they might be better off purchasing a grafted tree from a nursery and just growing it that way too. So there's lots of good videos on actual grafting on the internet.
We have one with you, yes.
Yeah, there's one. And there's others, great videos from other people. I think Richard Campbell's got a video on there. I know Chris Wenzel's done some videos. So there's good information about grafting, and I would suggest that you read and watch videos before the first time you attempt to do it. So that'll help.
So if you successfully put a budwood on a tree, how long can you expect to get fruit from it on a mango versus if you buy a grafted tree?
So if you have a mature stump that you're grafting to, it will often fruit quicker than if you plant a small tree. So that's one of the benefits of it. I usually expect any grafts I put on a mature stump to fruit within 2 years. Sometimes I get fruit within 1. That's not uncommon. And I can show you, Paul, grafts that I put last year that have fruit on them. And sometimes that's not desirable, and I'll actually strip the fruit off because I want that graft to grow. But in some cases, I have enough grafts successful of that on that stump that I can let one of those grafts hold fruit just so I can try the fruit, photograph it, and so forth. So I would say in most cases, if you've got a mature stump, you can get fruit a little faster by grafting to that stump instead of planting a young tree. Now, if you plan to have other varieties on that stump, then sometimes you're better off giving that variety that you're trying to graft onto the tree its own stump, or planting it in its own spot to give it a better opportunity to thrive, because there's lots of varieties that are not compatible with one another in terms of their growth rates. And if you put too many kinds on a tree and you don't manage it properly, it's really common, and I could show you examples here where one variety just dominates the canopy. And so different situations for different people.
But if you put more grafts on a tree, does it slow down the rate of how long before they'll get fruit, or not necessarily?
No, not necessarily, unless you're sacrificing a lot of canopy in the process of doing it, I suppose. The more canopy you have, the more likelihood that you're going to get fruit from your grafts. But in terms of the number of varieties, the only impact there would be, are they fruitful varieties?
Sure.
Likely to bloom and likely to hold on to fruit. So that's the big factor there. You can go wild in terms of putting varieties on a tree, and if they're all really fruitful types, then you can certainly end up with a lot of fruit, even though you might have 5 different kinds on it. The challenge is managing those different kinds.
Sure. Here we are in April of 2022. You just opened up the Budwood on your website request. So far, what's been your most popular request?
Most popular requests have been sugar loaf. We've had a lot of requests for orange sherbet, sassy love. We've received quite a few requests for pickering. That's been very popular. What else are some of the other ones that we've been getting a lot of requests for? I got a lot of requests for pineapple pleasure. There's others that we'll get a pretty consistent stream of requests for every week, maybe not in the numbers as those varieties that I just mentioned. But a lot of the newer stuff for sure is getting a lot of requests, which isn't a bad thing. It does at a certain point sometimes exhaust how much we can find on the trees, and then it might be a period of weeks before those varieties have, or even sometimes months before they have budwood available again that's ready to go, even though they'll still be on our list as varieties that you can have checked. So that happens, but as we kind of tip prune our trees, usually 2 to 3 weeks after doing that, we'll find good budwood on them again. So it also depends on how much fruit is on them. So certain trees are just loaded with mangoes right now, and it's going to limit how many stems we're going to find that have good buds on.
When you get a request, let's say 2 people request something the same day, but you only have room for 1, do you do first come, first serve?
First come, first serve. That's exactly right. So whoever requested it first, that's who we'll offer the budwood to first. And sometimes people don't end up paying the invoices, so then okay, well, offer it to the next person within the period of time. We usually try to get the budwood shipped off within a few days, because what will happen is if we find something's ready and we send an invoice, okay, if the person doesn't pay the invoice for 5 days or something, what can happen is, well, that bud that was just a swelling bud before now is flush in growth, and it's no good for grafting anymore, right? So it's kind of lost its viability. So we usually put a time span of 2 or 3 days for the invoice to get paid before we have to cancel it.
So you literally don't even cut it until they paid for the invoice?
Correct, right? Because it might be that it's something that, well, it may not flush in a couple of days, and maybe we can offer it to somebody else who sends a check 5 days later or something like that. So no, we don't collect it until the invoice has actually been paid. So but now we have we had a problem before where we had a lot of people that were submitting checklists and then not following through with the orders, and it takes hours to march around this place and check everything. It's a lot of work on top of the work that we've already got in terms of taking care of our fruit and taking care of all the potted trees in our nursery. So in order to discourage that, we started to put in this $6 fee, which of course gets applied towards the order anyway. But people have been placing a lot of orders, so it hasn't really discouraged them.
Sure. One time when we were here, you were showing us around. You showed us all these new varieties, hoping people would grow these varieties. So what's the top 3 varieties that people either don't know about or you'd like people to order Budwood for these? Like, what's your top 3 that people, if you have a suggestion for people, if they don't know what to do and they want something new, what's your top 3 that you would suggest?
Well, it's going to depend a little bit on their location, but I mean, some of the ones that we were highlighting last year, Paul, like Giselle and Carla, are 2 that I think are probably a little under-requested, considering their potential as varieties. You know, if you're in an area like Southern California or Central Florida, West Florida, you might try some of these Indian varieties that we grow, like Ashtul Mukarar or the Pakistani Sindri, or one of these that are kind of hard to bloom in Southeast Florida but might flower better in a little colder climate or a place that gets cooler winters. So what else?
I know you had an Israeli variety, right, that you were talking about last year?
Yeah, Maya. That's a really good mango. If you're in a kind of a drier area, like along coastal Southeast Florida, coastal Central Florida, or if you're in maybe Southern California or a drier part of Hawaii, you know, that's a mango from Israel that's really good. It's in the classically flavored mango group. I don't receive a whole lot of Budwood requests for that one. I don't know if it has good Budwood right now, but I mean, like, you know, over the course of the season at some point it will. So that's a good example, Paul, actually, of something that's probably under-requested here. And there's lots of others. I could probably...
I know the white puri you were like
White
trying
puri,
to tell
we get a
people
decent...
about.
Yeah,
that tastes great.
That tastes phenomenal, and we've started to get more requests for white puri.
Good.
And the funny thing is, certain mangoes are easier to find good Budwood on, and some mangoes, just like I was mentioning before, Kale Savoy, I have a hard time. Maybe other people find it easier than my tree, but ours is a challenge to find good Budwood on. But then white puri, we have, I guess, 4 or 5 white puri trees that we can take Budwood from, and it's easy to find good Budwood on white puri. It's also easy to find good Budwood on sweet tart, which actually we get lots of requests for sweet tart. I forgot to mention that one. So that's actually, that might have been the most requested variety, Paul, in this wave that we got in the beginning, is sweet tart. But yeah, there's some varieties that it's easier to find good Budwood on.
Are some varieties easier to graft than others, or just...
Yeah, absolutely. So some mangoes graft pretty easy. Pickering, Kerry, Namdok Mai, you know, Mahashnok grafts pretty easily. There's a bunch of others. Thai mangoes, Ivory grafts really easily, for example. But then there's stuff that's harder. You know, East Indian is harder to graft. You know, some of these, actually some of the Indian varieties like Panchadara Kalasa is a little tricky, for sure. So there's definitely pretty stark differences between some of them. You know, I would say Dwarf Hawaiian might be on the moderate end of the spectrum in terms of its ability to graft, and some of it might depend on your type of graft that you're using. One tip I'd love to give people is that if you can find branches that have new growth starting to emerge out of the stem, just starting to emerge. I wish I had an example here. I do. Okay, here we go. So see this stem here on this scrub. This stem is just now pushing out new growth. This would be a great stem to use to graft to, because there's active juices flowing through the cambium right now, and the rate of take on that stem is going to be better than a dormant stem like this. Okay.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
if I was choosing a stem to graft to onto this tree, I would choose this versus the dormant.
And why is that? Because it's just active
Because
now?
we can see that that's got active growth, so the cambium tissue is really active in that stem.
Oh, interesting.
And so if you're grafting at home, choose either trees that have that coming out, or that if you're using rootstocks, you know, just new growth is pushing out, or you can see that the bud is about to push out. That's what you want to use. You'll get a better rate of take on your grafts if you do that. That's one of the best tips I can offer you, besides using a really sharp knife. So
razor blade,
that's critical as well. So anyway.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Very well. So, and you recommend if people can taste the mango before they buy.
Yeah, definitely. If you can during mango season, whether you get them from us or one of the other farms or whatever, or you get them from friends, try the mangoes as much as you can before you settle on varieties to plant in your yard, especially if you have limited space. If you're a collector, it doesn't matter quite as much. But if you're trying to make it the long-term decision, the more varieties that you try, and keep a record of what you thought about them, take some notes about whether you liked it or not, what you thought it tasted like, and that kind of thing, can really help you make a decision in terms of ordering budwood or ordering a tree or planting a tree. So trying mangoes is the best way to make that decision. And plus doing some research on whether the varieties are fit for your area.
Right, I'm going to put your website and your phone number and all that information below this video so people can contact you. But remember, go to his website. He has this procedure that is streamlined, and fill out the form of which varieties you're looking for. Don't waste time trying to get him on the phone, because the sooner you get that done, the sooner he can go ahead and check them for you.
Yeah, and actually the function's pretty simple. There's a drop-down menu. You select what you want and the quantity, and then you just hit the little green plus button. If you need some additional help, we can actually send you a video that we made on how to do it, just to make it a little easier for you. So, but people have been having pretty good success ordering through this system now, and it's working pretty well. So.
All right, well, thank you for your great service and these amazing trees here. This farm's amazing, and everybody, when are you opening up for daily sales?
We're going to start offering fruit on our website pretty soon. I would say within the next couple of weeks, certainly before the end of this month, I think. And by May, we'll have quite a bit of fruit as well. We have found ripe fruit, so we're in mango season now, actually. Believe it or not, here mango season does start in spring. So we will initially offer fruit for local pickup the next day, so we'll post it to our website probably in the afternoons and evenings, and then the next day people can come and pick up their purchases. And then once we start getting a lot more fruit, we will move to having our fruit stand open for daily hours, and then eventually we'll start shipping fruit when we have even more quantity at that point. That might not be until some point in May, but I would expect that our season's going to peak in June, the second half of June, early July, because we do have 2 crops on these trees right now. In fact, you can see here on this Maha Chinook, we've got fruit that is very close to being ready up in here, but then we also have these smaller mangoes that aren't going to be ready until some point in the summer. So it's going to be an extended season, and I would say that the summer crop will be larger than the spring crop. So if you're a little frustrated at first trying to get fruit, it will get better as the months go by.
And you're updating everyone on your Facebook and Instagram pages, right?
Yep, we keep people posted on our social media as well. And we have a email list on our website that you can subscribe to so that you can receive notifications. If you don't use Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you can just receive an email from us when we make our announcements about fruit sales, budwood, that kind of thing. So.
All right, I'm going to post all that below the video. Thank you very much for taking the time to tell us your process, and everyone get some good budwood and keep growing. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks.
Everybody, that was Alex. I just love coming to this place and seeing these trees and get that budwood. And even if you're new to this, learn, practice. Practice with local trees or whatever, but get the budwood and try to graft. Grafting is a pretty exciting thing when you do it, and it's something special about it. So, each year my rate gets better and better, success rate on grafting, but I still got a ways to go. But check out the video I did. I'll put the link below the video and a card here also that I did with Alex about exactly how to graft. But one of the most successful parts of getting that rate up is making sure you take all the steps, the best time to graft and how to do it. And that's what Alex covered in that last video that we were at. And that helped me tremendously. So put your comments or questions below. And if you have any questions, and remember to subscribe and like. Until then, everybody, have a great day and keep growing.